I'm surprised there's nobody from outside India today. Maybe they'll join in, but last time we had like, I think 5, 6 people from Africa, European countries,
Hmm.
forgot where exactly, but previous Launchpad cohort was also filled with a lot of diverse audience. So yeah,
We
awesome.
had one from Nigeria as well.
Yes, from Nigeria and I think Amsterdam. Not don't recall which European
Hmm.
country we had. Like we had a couple of folks there as well. But the timing usually is like kind of off. So for folks that are joining from other countries, this can be like midday or very early, depending on where you are in terms of time zone. But awesome. All right. So good to have everybody here. For folks who have just joined in, since we started a couple of minutes ago, just drop in a quick hi in the chat. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from. So we just get a broader sense of who is there in the audience today. All right. Awesome. So I think give us a minute. We'll just get started, and yeah, then we'll be off to getting started with some nice, fancy gaming conversations, talk about game projects and everything as well. Okay. Manas, let me know if you're good to start.
Let's wait. There's more people joining in. So in like 1 or 2 minutes, let's start off.
Perfect. Okay. Pune, Hyderabad, Gujarat, Malaysia, Mumbai, Pune. Yeah, Pune seems to be the winner now. There's suddenly so many folks joining in together from Pune.
Hey, as long as they are from Maharashtra, I'm so.
All right.
So let's just admit these folks, and I think we can start off. Yep, let's do it.
Vinay is saying that's drop in a vote to rename Bangalore. Okay, West Bengal. All right, awesome. So welcome everyone to Outscale's Launchpad Clan 4. I am Mayank Grover. I'm the founder of Outscale. I've been in the game industry for the past 10 plus years now, and worked across India, US, with a lot of different game companies. And got a chance to work on very diverse kind of game projects across the board in my decade-long experience as a game developer and building game teams, hiring a lot of talent for gaming companies, and then started 2 of my own gaming startups as well, which failed miserably. And after that, in 2018, I started Outscale. So core sort of, Outscale was always to kind of help solve the problem that I faced when I was trying to get into games. I didn't have a lot of support. It took me 4 years to get this transition done, but I was already a software developer, and I'm talking about 2010. So it was way long back when I transitioned into games. So it took me good 4 years to get my first job as a game developer from a software developer role. I was transitioning as a software developer to a game developer, and it took me 4 years to get that. And for that, I had to go to US, take a lot of loan, do a master's program at one of the top universities. And without Scale, our core mission was we want to make this transition easier for a lot of other folks, very much like yourself, who are passionate about building games, whether it's for creative reason, whether it's for professional reasons, whether it's for just for passion, whether it's for hobby, whatever it might be, right? A lot of people are interested in exploring this art slash domain overall, and just don't have enough knowledge about it, resources, community around to understand what it means to build games and so on and so forth. So Outscale at its heart is that. Today I have Manas with me. Manas is an ex-Outscale alumni. Now he works full-time at Outscale. So he was in full stack game development cohort 7, almost 2.5 years back. He graduated. He went on to work with this game studio based out of Hyderabad. A lot of you might not know about the game studio itself because it's a fairly small studio, but then the founders of the studio all came from Zynga and Ubisoft, and I think Electronic Arts as well. So very stellar team. And Manas spent, I think, a year or a year and a half with them. How much?
Yeah,
Uh,
1 year.
year, right? 1 year, right? So after he graduated from Outscale, he already had 2 years of experience before he joined Outscale full stack game dev program. Then went on to work for that studio for another year, and then I hired him back internally at Outscale as well. So Manas, any quick words you want to add as well?
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it. But one thing I would like to add is I basically already had some experience in the industry, but the kind of work that I was doing, I was not happy with. And post the Outscale full stack program is when I actually started working on more complex projects. Plus, like during the course of the Launchpad program, you'll realize you'll be answering questions or actually asking questions that you never would have asked in the first place. And that is where I'll come in. I'll be your mentor for the Launchpad sessions going forward. So we'll be in touch regularly over the next 2 weeks. So you get used to seeing my face.
Perfect. Awesome. So Manas will be your go-to person. He'll be your best friend and your worst enemy. So if you have a lot of doubts while you're building your game projects, he'll be able to guide you and advise you in terms of how to move forward, how to add more creativity to your games. But then he'll be asking you hard questions as well. If you're not able to make progress, why are you stuck? Where are you stuck? Why are you not asking doubts? Which is a good thing because that's how you sort of learn and grow, right? So awesome. So just a couple of words about what Launchpad really is, right? A lot of you are here because you want to explore building games. Some of you might have actually done game development as a side project, as a hobby, or might have done some YouTube tutorials, etc. Right? So Launchpad was essentially a way for us to encourage a lot of people who are thinking about building games. Okay, so the idea for Launchpad was not to get you an internship or a job or some certificate or something else. It was purely to let folks who are even remotely interested or have ever thought about, hey, I used to play Contra and Mario, etc. back in the day. Can I even try to build these kind of games ever, right? So Launchpad was a way for us to say that anybody who's really serious about it can apply for 100% scholarship and get access to the program where they basically are working with a group of fellow members who are equally excited about building games, right? And we provide them that support, the community around it, the study material to get you sort of started on your journey to build games. Now, some of you who already might be working as game developers or might have some prior experience, you'll have the chance to learn some of the advanced stuff, right? For others who might not have any exposure to game development or programming, right, you will get the chance to get started with your first game project as well. So there are different difficulty levels in Launchpad itself based on where you are in your career trajectory, right? If you already have built some games, there is some advanced level things that you can learn about game development, which happens at the industry as a professional. And then if you're absolutely somebody with no prior coding experience at all, there is something to get you started on your first game project as well. So it kind of caters to all the audience in a way that challenges you to build certain game projects. I hope that makes sense. If anybody has any questions on that, just let me know in the chat. I'll just quickly pause for 30 seconds and then we'll push forward. Okay. Will the classes be on Zoom? Yes. We'll be learning C++ and C Sharp. C++ we will do outside of Unreal. We'll not be touching on Unreal because the scope of this Launchpad is only 2 weeks. Which programming experience one should have? Any. Essentially, if you have any programming experience, that is good enough. If you don't have any programming experience, that's also okay, because we'll talk about how you'll be able to do Launchpad if you have no programming experience as well. Okay. Okay, which language will be needed? Okay, so I think already answered that. Cool, awesome. So looks like there are no questions as of now. Manas?
Yep. So since okay, more questions popping in, but I guess we can come back to them later. Yeah,
we can come back after we cover the next one.
Yeah, yes. Most of them questions we'll be answering during the course of the call itself, as I can see. But cool. So since Mayank introduced himself properly, I guess I should also get a chance to get acquainted with you guys. So I thought of a simple activity that we could do. It's basically a quiz, trivia quiz, where I can understand the kind of people I'm dealing with, basically, and the kind of students I'll be teaching. So I'll be asking you a bunch of questions. Feel free to answer them. You'll see, and it will just give us an idea of what kind of diversity we have in the our Launchpad clan itself. So, first question again, you can answer them in the chat. Which game, or basically games, got you excited about game development? So, uh, any game, PUBG, GTA, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, a lot of Ubisoft games I see.
Road Rash, my personal favorite.
Road Rash,
God
FIFA.
of War.
Oh, a lot of GTA. Cool. Genshin. Oh,
Hmm.
uh,
Inside and Limbo. Love those games.
yes. I played Inside. I've not played Limbo, I guess.
Ah, you should.
Yeah, the ending screwed me up.
PUBG,
And
Dota 2, Elder Ring, Medal of Honor. Okay, so a lot of folks that are very passionate about. Uh, well, I'm seeing a lot of. I just by looking at the chat itself, I see more non-mobile games, right? Like whether it's PC versus console, whichever it is. It's good to see that a lot of the audience is actually excited about games that are not just on mobile. The Witcher, okay, Clash of Clans. Fun fact: we have a Clash of Clans assignment as one of the advanced in the advanced project. If you end up doing the full stack game development program, there is a Clash of Clans assignment as well. So you get to build some cool shit. Braid is a good one. Yeah. Uncharted. Yeah. Little nightmares. Yeah. That's really good.
lots and lots of diversity. Yep. Looking at it, like I would like to know what kind of platforms do you guys also play games on? So are you a PC guy, console guy, mobile guy?
All good. Like, either ways.
PC, a lot of torrent guys I see.
Yeah.
A lot of people pirating their games. Steam, haha. Nobody's saying no. A lot of people saying Steam, but nobody's saying no. PC is too expensive. Okay. Yeah. I personally play on console, so I can also relate.
Yeah, but like guys, if for just a side note, right? Like when you get into building games, it really hurts to pirate shit, right? Just being very honest, right? When you actually are building games as a living, so uh, generally just avoid piracy. It just like hurts right here, right? So if you are trying to get into this industry or trying to do this as a hobby or or anything, right? Just try to avoid that spectrum so that yeah. Just an honest thought, but yeah.
A
Okay.
a lot of people defending it, saying we support games as well. So that's good to see.
Yeah, but how?
Game.
It's a philosophical discussion. Maybe we can come back to it, right? Like if you're really pirating games as well, how are you really supporting it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're buying it, that's okay. I'm just talking about against a lot of piracy generally. So, but yeah. Okay, cool, awesome.
Uh,
Uh,
Last question before we move on would be, if you could play one game, right, for the rest of your life, one video game, which one would it be? GTA, Days Gone, RDR, Road Rash. Someone said Road Rash. Someone read your mind, I guess. GTA, Last of Us. That's my guy. That's my guy. Someone said Last of Us. Finally, I saw Last of Us in the chat. Candy Crush, Apex, Elden Ring,
See,
and
League of Legends, like these kind of games, I can understand just because they are multiplayer, so there's so much variety. Every game is different, right? But
yeah,
I don't understand how somebody can play Candy Crush. Sorry, no offense to anyone. I don't even know who mentioned it, but it just takes a lot of patience to play that, right? World of Warcraft, that's a good one. Yeah, always a classic. It takes two. Mm, Candy Crush is actually a never-ending game. Yeah, I know, right? Like, so actually, I think one of the topics for Launchpad is how do you actually build those infinite kind of games, right? Where there's like a never-ending stream of levels that keep coming in, etc. As an engineer, how do you actually build those things, right? So one of the topics we'll talk about during the next week is focused around that, and it's usually engineering. No, actually, it's not really procedural. We can talk more specific about it as well. What really procedural can do and cannot do. There are limits in terms of what procedural level generation can do. Okay. Open world games would be better to play. Yeah, that's true. Anything that has a multiplayer angle to it. But yeah, awesome, cool. So
lots of variety. Let's now start moving to the good stuff. So nice to see a lot of variety, diversity in the chat. We'll be discussing all the kind of games you want to discuss in the mentor sessions. We don't necessarily need to be restricted by the titles that we have discussed. But moving forward, again, just keep these games in mind. Anything you're curious about, we'll be discussing that in the mentor sessions. Cool. Moving forward, I guess I have a poll for all of you guys to answer. I'm just going live with it now. It's time to get a bit serious. So it should be live on your screens. If you're on phone, you should be able to see the poll on your screen as well. Just answer those so I can understand where we are currently and where we need to go. Cool. Lots of people. Are you on Outscale Discord community is the question for people who have not seen the poll yet. So if you've not taken the role, have you joined Outscale Discord? I'll keep this poll live for like 10 more seconds and then I'll close off since most of you seem to have responded.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, gone. Okay.
Cool. So 74% of you already have the Launchpad role. So that's good to see. For people who have not taken the role, like, is there some issues? Like, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll again be going through the steps just to make sure you guys have access. People who are not on Discord, join Discord immediately, I would say, because Discord is going to be our source of communication going forward. So the WhatsApp groups that we've created will, after a certain duration, will be closing those up and we'll be moving everything over to Discord. Cool. Sounds good. Let's move on. For people who don't have access to Discord, just follow the steps that I'll be sharing now. If you're not able to get access to that, I'll give you an email that you can contact us on. But before that, you'll have a link to the master page that you'll be using. I'm dropping that in the chat as well for everyone. So going forward, this is going to be your be all end all page. Everything that you need to know will be available to you on this link. Your everything that you basically might have a doubt about, you should have access to by clicking this link simply. So if you've already clicked, it should ideally take you to this. I'm going to share my screen and just let me know if you guys can see my screen. Yes or no? Cool. So it should take you to our Launchpad 4 homepage. This is going to be your homepage, and this is going to be, like I said, your source of information, all the necessary essential information going forward. So this basically is divided into all the different sections, subsections that you'll be needing, all your different tracks, all your submissions that you'll be able to see, getting access to the mentor sessions that we already have every day. So I'll just go through some of them quickly. In the general instructions page, you'll see that we've already conveyed this, but daily mentor sessions.
Sorry, Bharat, to interrupt. Could you just zoom in? Maybe for some people, the screen might be too small if they're connected on a mobile device or something. Maybe one more. Yeah, that should be good.
Cool. Okay, so mentor sessions going forward will take place from Monday to Saturday, 8 to 9, similar to what we are doing today. These sessions will again be guidelines and will basically be a value addition to the assignments that you'll be doing. We expect you to go through study material and assignments, get some doubts from there, and bring those over to the mentor sessions where we can collectively help you solve these doubts together. And again, these mentor sessions will be recorded. You'll get access to those recordings from the master page. I'll show you the link to that as well. Uh, uh, this is clear. Any doubts on this? Any questions on this so far? You don't need to sign up to get access to the master page. No. Cool. Moving on. Is there any questions on this? Yeah, classes will be every day from Monday to Saturday. Sunday is going to be off, and these are going to be basically for 2 weeks. So this week, Monday to Saturday, and again from Monday to Saturday the next week as well. Cool. Continuing over to Discord for people who've not gotten access to their Launchpad role. Please pay attention. These instructions, like I said, are there on the master page itself. So all you need to do is join the server, click here, go to the choose role section and click on the rocket that's here. As soon as you click on it, you'll get a message with granting you access to the Launchpad 4 role, and you should be able to access the Launchpad 4 text channel on Discord after that. So if you accepted the role, you'll see that you automatically have access to a Launchpad 4 text channel over here as well. So that is going to be your source for doubt solving. Your Discord will be our source for communication for everything going forward. We will not be solving your doubts on WhatsApp. It's all going to be on Discord. On Discord as well, for we have different roles. If you're not familiar with Discord, just feel free to let us know. We'll share across a video or something that gets you familiar with Discord as well. So again, during the course of the program, you'll be running into a lot of problems. We hope we tried to make the experience as smooth for you as possible. In case you have any issues in the basic process, you can simply tag help admissions in the getting started channel on Discord. People who don't know where the channel is, I'll screen share and walk you through that as well. And there is a separate channel for game dev questions, a separate channel for C++ questions, a separate channel for C# questions. So that's another channel where you can simply ask your doubts and get your doubts solved. So if I'm not there, or if Mayank's not there online, we have a community of folks who are studying along with you or have already graduated from the Launchpad program who can help you out. So say you have a doubt at 2 a.m. in the night, you don't need to necessarily wait till the mentor session to get it solved. You can simply drop it over on Discord, and other folks in the community can help you out over there as well. So let me just screen share and
just a quick question here, right? How many of you have already seen the Discord community and maybe even asked a question in there or something? Anyone here who has already asked a question? Yeah. Okay, so a good number of folks who have had. Has anybody helped you so far in the Discord community in any question? Could be a career related question, a technical question, non-technical question. Many times, a lot. Okay, perfect, awesome. So this is exactly what Manas was trying to say. Overall, the whole purpose of the community is that there are other folks very much like you who might be either 2 steps ahead of you or 2 steps behind you, right? Generally, just be a helpful member of the community because it ends up kind of helping you as well, right? So that's what we are aiming for, to build a helpful, supportive community where you ask questions and you get answers, even if it's 2 o'clock in the night, or if somebody else is asking question, we try to be as helpful as possible from our side so that, that karma goes around. Yeah. Sorry, continue, Manas, please.
Yep. So see, like discussed in the chat over here, you'll see that there's different pages or text channels for you to ask doubts in. You'll see that people who have access to the Launchpad role, they have a rocket attached to them. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. So I think what Manos was saying, this is like once you, indicate that you want to join Launchpad, if you go to the selection process, right, and provide your email ID, so then the bot will give you the relevant role that is needed, right? And after that, you will basically see a rocket right next to your name, indicating that you have successfully gotten access to the Launchpad private channel. And moreover, Manos, if you can scroll up, you can see there's a dedicated channel for Launchpad itself, right? So we can just quickly show that. So you can see there's a Launchpad Clan 4 channel. So you'll see this channel as well. Again, a lot of you are generally asking that I don't have access to write anything in this channel. That's okay, because this channel will be primarily used for a lot of information that we want to share with you. Will open up threads that you guys can use for communication as well. But again, there are rest of the public channels that are always open, where you can freely ask any topic specific doubts. If you're doing some C++, there is a C++ dedicated channel, etc. as well. Okay.
So if you have questions for C Sharp, you'll see that you can simply tag help programming. So everyone with the role help programming in the community will get a notification that someone asked a doubt in the C Sharp channel, and they can then help you out. For game development, we have separate channels. So we have a Unity Fundamentals and a Unity Advanced channel as well, plus a separate role simply for asking game development doubts. So over here, you'll see that Viral had a doubt and he simply posted it and tagged help game development, and people from the community already helped him out, and I did not need to jump in at all. So that
I think I'll just quickly repeat, like you guys will not have access to send a message in that channel. That channel is a kind of an announcement only channel for Clan 4. Okay, just to be very clear, that's an announcement only channel, guys. So do not worry that you do not have access to send a message there. Messaging and communication all happens in public channels where you can ask your doubts and discuss and have interactions with other community members, and that's by design. It's supposed to be that way. So that channel is only used for whenever we have to send an announcement to you guys. Okay. Good.
Yep. For study materials, master page, again, you'll find everything on the master page itself. You can get
that I just shared.
Yep. Any doubts, questions on getting the role, Discord, etc.?
Okay, perfect. Like if there are questions, just feel free to keep throwing them in the chat. We'll keep picking them up one at a time. Yeah. If there are questions regarding job and career stuff, we'll come back to it towards the end. We'll have an open Q&A towards the end as well. So don't worry, Lakshmi. We'll pick those questions towards the end. Okay. There was one question in between regarding somebody, or I think a couple of people had asked regarding, will we get a certificate after we complete Launchpad? So just drop a yes or a no if you think there will be a certificate or not. Just a yes or a no quickly in the chat. Okay, good number of yeses and good number of no's. I'm seeing like a balance. Maybe there is more no's to it. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to share our general thought process at Outscale, how we do things, and it's related to both Launchpad, to full stack, and everything else in life as well, right? No fucking certificates. End of story. Sorry for the harsh language, but basically our stance is very clear, right? Today we are building Outscale because we see that there is a lot of people who are interested in really acquiring the skills, right? And building games, right? They're passionate about building games, right? Who fucking needs certificates to explore their passion? Right. Right. What are we really going to do by certificates, right? If you are looking to become a professional by getting a job in this industry, right, trust me, no fucking person will ever hire you based on the certificate, right? If they've hired you, trust me, you don't want to work for them, right? If they hired you just by looking at your certificate, you probably don't want to work from them. You're not going to learn and grow, right? And if you're doing this because you want to maybe start your own gaming startup one day, who fucking gives a shit about your certificates, right? If you're doing this because you want to do this as a side hobby, just want to create games for passion, you maybe have another job or another career that you want to explore. Again, why give a shit about certificates, right? You're doing this for a weekend thing. So in any possible scenario, you don't need a certificate. This industry doesn't give a shit about certificates. Neither should you, right? No offense to anybody who asked this question. It's a very legitimate question, and a lot of people ask that. This is generally our stance to it, right? You guys are going to go through Launchpad, which is just a 14-day experience, right? We don't give certificates to people who go through the 7-month full stack game development program, right? Why? Because there the goal is to get on the right career track, right? Not to have certificates. If you want certificates, you can literally drop out of this call, spend 15 minutes on Canva, Google a basic keyword on how to create certificates, and you're good, right? You can start with that basically. So from that perspective, you'll be totally fine on sort of getting your certificates by yourself. Create as many as you want, but our stance is that you should focus on exploring your passion, building your skills, and getting in the right direction that you want, right? That's what's more important, right? So generally that's our stance about it, and that's how we sort of treat the whole sort of concept of certificates as well. I hope that makes sense, because we get this question a lot. I wanted to make sure that we take 2 minutes to just answer this all important question.
I'm still waiting for mine, but I
Yeah.
got a job here as well.
Yeah, and you're not getting any. Yes. Yeah. We can create certificates like this. Yes, you can. Right? Like they're just not valuable, right? They're just pieces of paper that are not really valuable, and nobody really gives any weightage to them, right? So yeah. Okay, awesome. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah,
Cool. So I think we have one quick small poll just to understand how many of you have some prior experience building games. So if we can get that live, Manus, on the screen.
yep,
Um,
it's live. It should be live at least.
all right, perfect. Yes. So if you guys see this, so it's a very, basically we want to understand how many of you have built some kind of games or not. Yeah.
Okay. This is like interesting.
Okay, so I can see that there's a good number of folks who have the balance in terms of some game experience versus no game experience. Started building games. Okay.
Cool. I'll end it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Perfect. Awesome. So looks like about 120 folks. I'll share the results with you guys as well. So, you can see there's a good balance of, 30%, 18%. So we have a mixed audience where some people have no prior game development experience and others have built more than one game in the past as well. So the next point that I'm going to cover is going to be relevant for everybody involved as well. So I'll just quickly share my screen. Yeah, let me know if you guys can see. Give me a thumbs up or something. Yes.
Looks good.
Okay, perfect. So initially, if you remember, I mentioned a little bit about if you are an experienced developer, if you are just getting started, there is something or the other for everybody, right? So on the same page, if you scroll down a little bit, what you'll see is there are 3 tracks. There is a fundamental track, there is an intermediate track, and there is an advanced track. Okay. So here, like, I think I'll just zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, there you go. So here you can see basically anybody who has no programming experience, our recommendation is that you start with the fundamental tracks. This will help you build your first game, and it will predominantly focus on C++. So you can very well get started with building your first game project without having any prior coding knowledge at all, right? So then this fundamental track is going to be ideal for you. Okay. If you have any programming knowledge, doesn't matter what kind, whether you know Python, whether you know C++, C Sharp, Java, if you know any programming language, then starting with track 2, which will basically get started on Unity and start building your first game project inside Unity, this is going to be a good place for you to start on track 2. Okay. But if you have done C Sharp and Unity development before, maybe you have done some YouTube tutorials, maybe you have followed some online resources to build some mini games, etc. Right? So you have some bit of knowledge about Unity. Then starting with track 3 is going to be ideal, right? Where you know fundamentals of Unity already, you know how to get started with Unity, but now you want to learn some more advanced level concepts as well. So then starting with the advanced track is going to be important. Okay. Manas, I'm not able to see the chat at the same time. So if there are any questions, just let me know. Just interrupt me and stop me in between if there are any important questions.
Yeah, I'm on top of it.
All right, perfect. So hopefully these three tracks are clear. Now I'll quickly come back to first, how do you sort of see, which track we want you to pick, right? So I've already mentioned the same thing. So the same details are kind of written here in case you missed it. But what you want to do is basically just click open this link, okay? And you'll see basically your name in the list and a relevant track associated with it, okay? So here I can see, okay, I think we need to fix this data because I can see the name column is empty. So maybe there is some data issue here. So I can come back to this guys in a bit, but basically ideally you should be seeing your names. Maybe there's a database issue or something, but we'll just get this fixed before we wrap up the call. So once you see your name, you'll see a track recommendation right next to it, and that will help you get started with your track itself, okay? So if you don't see your name, you can send us an email to admissions. Don't do it now. I know because there's no names visible right now. We'll just get this fixed in another couple of minutes, okay?
There should be names at the bottom. Scroll if you scroll down.
1 second, let me just
I
check.
guess these are previous entries, but there should be names down at the bottom. Like if you scroll down inside any group, you'll find names attached to them.
Oh, okay, got it. Can we just remove out the ones that are not relevant here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So as you can see, right, like let's say I'm Aditya Mishra. So then if I just control F Aditya, right, I'll be able to jump to my name, find myself where I am in this list and see that based on the information as part of the scholarship process, whatever information you provided, right, our recommendation is that you start with track 3. But if you still think that for some reason you want to start with track 2, that's okay, right? All that information in terms of which track we want to start with is available here. So if I go back to the home page, I can very well go into track 2 and directly get started with track 2 itself. So I can click here and get started there. So it doesn't matter. This recommendation is just our way of saying that based on the information that you provided, we think this is the ideal track for you. But then if you think that I want to still start with basics of Unity, or I want to start with the C++ programming language, because I want to explore that, you can easily jump in and start on that particular track. I hope that makes sense. Let me take a quick look at the questions.
Few questions asking, can we do multiple tracks? Are we supposed to do all three into etc. etc.
Sure. So our general approach to approaching these different tracks is that you start with the one that you feel most comfortable with, right? So for example, if you see track 1, you have no programming knowledge, etc. You start with track 1. Once you finish track 1, right, and you have time left, then you move to track 2, okay? And if you finish track 2, then you move to track 3, okay? So it's going to be as simple as that, right? So pick one track, complete it, then move on to the next track, okay? So don't jump the track in between, but once you finish it, that's when you move on to the next track, okay? You do not, if you're looking to get enrolled into a full stack game development program, you do not have to complete all the tracks. You have to complete at least one, because we will be looking at your final project submission as part of this track, whichever track you're opting in for, right? It doesn't matter which track, but you have to complete one track 100% in order to get admission into full stack, okay? And for others who are just exploring and want to try out, you can try out all the tracks. So if I am a person who knows, say, Java, but I have never done game development, right? I would start with track 2 and get started with Unity. And then from there on, move to track 3 and learn some advanced level concepts in Unity as well. Okay. So I can do multiple tracks, but only after I finish the first track that I start. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yep. For people who are not able to see their names in the track, just drop us an email at admissionspluslp@outscale.com. But before that, I would recommend like check your tracks after the session has wrapped, because we'll be updating the tracks over there as well. So if by say 10 p.m. you're still not able to get your track name, just drop us an email on admissionspluslp@outscale.com and we'll help you guys out.
Yeah, so that's also the email ID that Manas just mentioned is also available in this page itself. So you don't need to remember. you can just send us an email, at this email ID. Okay. Is Unity mandatory? Unity is not mandatory per se, but track 2 and track 3 will use Unity. So when you go through track 2 study material, it's all built in Unity. If you want to learn that resource and then try and apply that to say Unreal, you can, but it will be slightly tricky. Okay.
One question, how will I get access to more study material?
Yeah, so basically, what will happen is, for example, let me walk you through a journey. Okay, so imagine that I am a person who has never done any programming before. Okay, so I want to start with track 1. So I'll simply go inside track 1, right? And here you can see basically there is an easy hyperlink available. I can get started directly with accessing track 1 information. So here you can see the instructions page and the submission page. Okay, this is how you will basically see all your study resources, right? Every time you start a track. So you can see for chapter 0, I'm basically having a study material and a study material, but no assignments. But then when I switch over to chapter 1, there is a study material, an assignment, and a quiz, right? So if I click on any particular instruction, it will open up a new page, which will share the entire instructions as per what I need to do for that particular assignment. There might be videos here, there might be tasks here, there might be instructions on how to go about the submission. So this is self-explanatory. If you read through it, you'll understand it very clearly. Okay. And once I'm done with this assignment, right, I'll basically click on this particular submission link and directly provide my submission. Okay. So it's as simple as that. This will be a simple form. All I need to do is click on the particular thing. Okay, we'll just give it a minute. And you can see here, it's asking me for a submission. I'll first go in and find where I am. Let's say, is there another Mayank here? Okay, there seems to be some other Mayank. I just pick my name and then submit whatever link is part of the submission that I'm creating. So usually for the Unity projects, it will be a GitHub link, mangrover.project1 or something, right? So you'll have a link like this and you'll just go ahead and submit it. Okay, hopefully this makes sense. You don't need to change this field. This is automatically available, and just press submit. And now your submission is done. So basically, this is how you'll process the workflow. Once you're completing any chapter, immediately you will see an email within 1 minute or so, which will unlock the next chapter for you. Okay, so if I complete all the assignments as part of these chapter, especially the mandatory assignments, automatically I'll get an email unlocking the next chapter. So make sure that you complete the assignments, then go back and check, check your email to see the link for the next chapter. Okay. Somebody asked, when will I have, how much time will we have to access all these resources? You'll have pretty much infinite access. The access will not get removed. I hope that makes sense. Yeah.
Yep, I guess just chapter 2 material cover development and publishing part. It covers development, I guess, not publishing. But if you want to publish, we can help you guys out over there offline, maybe, if your game is good enough, that is.
Yeah, we've helped a lot of people get connected with, publishers in the industry, etc. We can make those introductions because we already have a lot of connections in the industry. But obviously, the prerequisite is that the game needs to be rock solid, right? After that, we can help you out. But yeah. Okay. Any other questions? I think there were a lot of questions. Did we miss any important ones?
I hope I tried to answer most of them to the best of my ability in the chat as well. So
Aryan, regarding the submission process, just take a quick look at the recording once more. It'll be easier without having to repeat the entire process once more. Develop. Okay, I'm just also scanning through the questions in case.
Which kind of game will we be building, like Android, iOS, or PC? Again, it's Unity, so you can port it to basically anything. You want
Correct.
to make it an Android build, make an Android build. You want to make a PC build, you can make a PC build.
Yes, exactly. So that's the best part, is that you will first learn the fundamentals of just building a game. You can very easily port it to PC, or at least make an export and get it up and running in the exe format. But we can talk about separately in terms of if you really want to push it to an Android or an iOS version as well. Okay. Are we learning complete programming? Shantanu, for if you're starting with track 1, and this is your first programming language, then yes, you will start learning with the fundamentals of C++. Okay.
Cool. Vishnu, how we can access? Yep, we just went through it. So for people asking, will there be a recording? Yes, this is also being live streamed on our YouTube. So you can simply get the live stream from there as well. Plus, in the master page, we'll be uploading all the recorded sessions. We'll be walking you through how to get access to them soon as well. Are we concentrating core mechanics or some other things? It's a mix of both. I'm familiar with Git, but not with Unity. Can you guys help me out? Something like that. So, like, do I have to upload whole project with all the assets?
Yeah, so I think for this one as well, like once you get to the Git part, you basically will have access to the resources to help you understand how to use Git and get a project started on Git as well. Okay, so
Yep.
don't worry about it. Yeah.
Thanks, Bhupendra, for dropping the link as well. What is the recommended time to spend on this?
What is the recommended time to spend on the course? Okay, so good question. So typically what we say is that ideally we want you to complete at least one track in 2 weeks. Okay, so now everybody, most of you are actually working professionals. A lot of you might be currently in college or might have some other prior commitments as well, right? So ideally our goal is that you spend 1 hour in your live sessions every day with your mentor, and then you spend at least 1 to 2 hours, okay, working on your projects, right? But if let's say for during the week you have heavy work pressure or working remotely in your full-time jobs or something, right, and you're not able to allocate 1 hour every day or 2 hours every day, right, ideally it is recommended that you spend at least 2 hours every day, so that way you do not fall behind and you're able to effectively ask doubts in the mentor sessions. But then if that is not the case, that's okay. You can maybe catch up over the weekend, spend more time on Sunday or something like that to cover up on lost time as well, right? So ideally, we would recommend that you should be able to finish one track in 10 to 12 hours, okay? That the way the tracks have been designed is that maximum in 12 hours or so, you will be able to finish a track, okay? But then you can spread that across as 1 hour every day, apart from the 1 hour of mentor session, or you can try to do more on the weekends, depending on how your work schedule, uh, happens. Okay. Would Unity work on low spec PCs? Well, depends on how low. I would just recommend that you download and install it and run. It's fairly okay, even if you have like 4 gigs of RAM, you should be able to run. Yeah.
Cool. I'm dropping the link to the email as well for people who don't have access or can't find the name. Like I said, but wait till 10, then search for your name. Don't just start dropping emails. Give us time till 10. If you're still not able to get access, we'll get back to you on that as well. Plus, I'll put out an announcement over on Discord saying that you should be able to access your names. Uh, I hope I answered your questions. Cool. Lots of information download is done. GitHub repo will be provided at the end of the project. You'll see. Cool. Mentorship starts from tomorrow. Yes. Website link I've already shared, Rishikesh, but Mayank has again shared it. So more details about scholarship, we can answer those at the end of the session. I will do a Q&A for that as well. Cool. I guess that's it. Lots of information download. Let's take a break, rewind. I have a bunch of more questions. These are more fun trivia questions about the gaming industry, just to see if you guys are as good as you guys think you are, basically. So I'll again be asking you a bunch of questions. Feel free to answer those. And again, we'll see how good your knowledge basically is. Cool. First question: which popular FPS game was originally began as a mod in Half-Life? I'm pretty sure most of you have played it, but Gary's mod, Portal, CS, COD started as a Half-Life mod? I don't think so, but yeah, Team
Yeah, I
Fortress.
don't think COD started as a Mod.
Yep. CSGO. Nice. Has anyone? Oh, CS 1.6, the OG guys are also here. Represent. How many of you played CS? Like played CS for like hours and hours? 400.
100 hours.
GG.
Okay, awesome.
Nice. Good to see. Good to see. Let's move to the next one.
Still playing.
uh, Valorant, yes. Which game protagonist has a barcode at the back of their head? Oh, gee, I was not expecting people to know this, but most of them do know this.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Vinay even answered Agent 47. So while we ask the name of the game. But yeah, good to see a lot of people knowing this. This is Agent 69. Okay.
Okay. Which zombie game is getting its own TV show? There's a bunch of them. So, okay, Walking Dead, Resident Evil, Last of Us. How many zombie TV shows are there? When I framed the question, I had only one in mind, but now all of these are valid answers.
Yep.
Resident Evil, Walking Dead. Okay, I had Last of Us in mind. Uh, yep, Craig Mazin, creator of Chernobyl, making Last of Us as well. Why say has a TV show as well?
I
Evil Dead.
have no idea on this one.
Cool, cool, nice.
Resident Evil.
Okay, this one is a easy one as well. Which mobile game is one of the highest grossing mobile games of all time? Just a hint, your parents probably love this game. Okay, see. Earlier it was PUBG, now everything's changed to Candy Crush as soon as I dropped the hint. Cool. How many of your parents play Candy Crush like till this date? Because I know my mom does.
Somebody said Subway Surfer as well.
I never thought parents play Subway Surfer. It's like a reflex thing as well, right? Parents like
Needs fast reaction time and everything as well.
yep.
Yeah. I never showed them. Awesome.
Mom plays PUBG, dad plays PUBG, GG. Good to see. Nice. Last one. Which fighting game popularized the term fatality? Okay. Okay. Most of them should be able to get this one as well. Nice. Mortal Kombat. Does anybody know the term brutality as well? So outside of fatality, there is another thing called brutality. Like it's not as good as a fatality, but it still does the trick. Cool. Sounds good. Okay, let's continue. Get back. So you discussed all these games, right? Most of you have already played or already know about these games, and that maybe sparked some curiosity in you how these games are made, etc., as well. And that's basically what we are going to be covering over the course of Launchpad as well. So I'm just going to screen share. Just let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Yeah.
Cool. So over here in Launchpad schedule, you'll see these basic uh, guidelines of what we are going to be discussing over the course of the next 2 weeks. So this is going to be the schedule we'll be following. All the topics that we'll be discussing, everything, you can get an overview from here as well. So 6 June today, like we said, is the kickoff. Tomorrow we'll be discussing how you actually build a successful career in the gaming industry, like what is the prerequisite and what you guys probably need to know if you're looking for a serious career in the gaming industry. Post that, by that time, you'll also be starting with your study material, hopefully, and starting with your assignments as well. Post that, we'll get to the good stuff. So after you built a base solid foundation of knowledge, we'll get into more advanced topics, understanding why does PUBG lag on my phone? These questions that you normally ask yourself, right? And based on that, we'll be discussing a certain technical topic in order to understand why PUBG is lagging on my phone, for example. On 9th, we'll have an industry speaker event. We'll probably invite a founder of a studio and bring them over and have a session with them so that you guys also get some knowledge out of it as well. Post that, these topics, the kind of games you've always played, right? How do different vehicles work in GTA Vice City? How do minimaps work in Witcher 3? So understanding the basics of what the tech is behind those gets important, so that going forward, if you were to make your own games, you can understand how the high level concepts or high level logic for those were written as well. So when the developers at Rockstar were writing this vehicle system, right, how did they think of storing all this data? If they had like 100 cars, where did they store all this data for 100 cars, etc., etc.? So we'll be covering everything from GTA to Witcher to Mortal Kombat, all these different topics. Plus, we'll be covering Last of Us, my personal favorite, my favorite game of all time. So even if the session is of 1 hour, I expect it to go for 1.5, 2 hours if you guys ask good doubts, or if I just simply continue, um, just you can say professing my love for the game. That is. Plus, okay, more common questions like why you fall through floors in the games, how Counter-Strike bots are built, etc., etc. Plus, like your parents play infinite levels, you'll learn how that system actually was built behind the scenes. And those topics will be discussing and understanding the high level concepts and basically creating, you can say, a high level algorithm about how I would start approaching this problem instead of directly coding and going balls deep in code as well. So that's how the schedule is going to work for to drop them, and I'll be more than happy to answer them as well. Last.
Right. Will you guide how to make a portfolio? Yes, so Aaron, I think in terms of how to make a portfolio, getting started with your first project that's worthy of adding into a portfolio is the first step, literally the first step. Once you understand how to start a project, bring it to completion and add it to your portfolio, then you just have to repeat this process over and over again with more and more challenging projects, more and more difficult projects. So, this is essentially how you kind of just repeat that cycle and overall end up with a lot of good projects to showcase in your portfolio. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let me just quickly share my screen as well and one last point. Yeah,
Before wrapping it up, for people who are asking about submissions, those submissions again will be complementary to your mentor sessions. So again, if you are doing some following some study material and submitting certain assignments and you get stuck or have any doubts, for example, and Discord community is not able to help you out, or you basically got that out, it's a more complex doubt or are not able to explain it, you can bring those over to the mentor sessions as well. So from 8 to 9, we'll be discussing the topic that we've shared with you. In case you have doubts, I'll be staying back and helping you guys with your doubts as well.
Perfect. Let me share screen once more. So there are just a couple of pointers that are left, and after that, we'll open up the floor for questions. So again, sort of sharing my screen on the same public page. Essentially, this page is something that you should just bookmark outright because we'll be referring to this page again and again. So a lot of you guys asked regarding mentor session recordings. So after every session ends, you just need to come back here, and within usually 30 minutes or so, a session recording will be available. So here you can see the very first sort of entry is available, right? Like this is a test entry just to showcase it to you guys, but essentially once the session closes, once you wrap up your session with your mentor, if you come back about 30 minutes or so after the session, you'll see that day's entry available here. Okay, so you don't need to ask anybody regarding mentor session recordings, etc. If you missed a session or something, just come here and you'll have access to it. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense. In terms of your submissions, one problem that everybody always faces is that they have submitted their assignments, but they haven't yet received an email regarding their particular next chapter. So I just completed chapter 3. I've done all my assignments, but then again, I have not received an email regarding chapter 4 unlock, right? So what you need to do is make sure, let's say if I was doing advanced track, right? I'll click here in terms of my assignments, and I'll click here in terms of my quiz submissions, and I'll make sure that I see my name in front of all of these entries. Okay, so I'm just showing you on the screen. If anybody has any questions, you can actually just read through these instructions. They are detailed out here as well. That way, it's never sort of like, in case you're not able to hear me clearly or something, you still are able to follow these instructions. Okay, so before you reach out, you ask that, hey, I'm not able to complete a particular thing. So here I can see, right, like someone named Sonu has already started working on certain assignments, etc. Right, and same thing here as well. Somebody named Sonu has already started working on sort of the quizzes, etc. for this particular thing, right? So these are the quiz submissions, these are the track 3 submissions, right? So this gives me an idea that, hey, am I completed all my stuff? And then I should raise a concern that, hey, I've completed all my chapter 6 stuff, but I've not gotten access to chapter 7. Okay, so then you can just drop us an email, and we'll help you figure out what the issue might be. It might be from our side, we'll get it solved. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Questions? So just go through these details and it will be hopefully make all sense, but I've still wanted to make sure that we cover it once. Okay. One last thing, tomorrow will be a fun session. So today was a kickoff call. Tomorrow we'll be talking about careers, different kind of career opportunities that exist. How should you think about these kind of career opportunities? Even if you're not interested today, maybe 2-3 years down the road, you might think about it as well. But it's good to just know about what are the options available in the market, right? So we'll be talking about sort of different kind of career opportunities. Again, the session will start exactly like today at 8 p.m. We will try to wrap up the session in 1 hour so that you can guys go back to working on your projects after that. But the focus for tomorrow's conversation will be on careers. And after that, I think you guys will be diving with Manas into more specific details around technical topics as well. Okay, so tomorrow's session I'll be hosting along with Manas, and I'll join in other sessions as well. But Manas will be the primary lead mentor for you guys in terms of understanding some of these nuanced aspects about different games that you probably already play, but just don't understand from a technical perspective how some of these things work. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense.
Cool. Just to reiterate, people who are not able to see their names, like I said, please wait till 10 p.m. Repeating it again, not if you're not able to find it, mail us at admissions+lp@launchpad.com and we'll take it over from there. Cool. I think we've shared everything we needed to share. If there's any questions, feel free to ask those. I can open up permission for you to unmute as well, since dropping questions in the chat takes too long.
Perfect. So just to be very clear, we are done with sharing all the information. I'll drop the link once more in case somebody has to jump off for dinner or has some work, etc. Feel free. But now is the open time to ask us any questions that you might have. It's okay. You can ask it in the chat. You can just raise your hand and we'll ask you to unmute. What we will do is, just raise your hand and we'll ask you to unmute. But if you want to ask a question, I would love to see the person's face as well. So if you're raising your hand, just pop open your video and, we'll give you access to unmuting and asking the question. Otherwise, if for some reason you're not available on voice/video, feel free to drop it in the chat. That's okay. All right, awesome, guys. What are your thoughts about the indie games like Mumbai Gullies and Project Ballots? Manas?
Cool. Mumbai Gullies, again, Nikhil's project, just to give you context, based on Unreal, they are creating their own open world Mumbai based action drama. So think of it like Mafia meets Mumbai, and it's going to be a mix of GTA elements, etc., as well. So just laying context for everyone. What I think about them, I'd love to see more. It's still early days. The game is not coming out till what, 2025, I believe. But happy to see them making progress. Plus, Nikhil has also partnered with us in the past as well. So good luck to him on that front as well.
And
Uh,
Nikhil is a good friend. We have collaborated on a lot of pieces together as well. I've been to his YouTube channel. He has joined us in a lot of events, etc. as well. So, cheering from him for him and the success of these. I think our country needs a lot of these kind of game projects to really showcase that there's a lot of good talent in this country as well, right? So, so I think definitely, we are definitely keeping fingers crossed and hoping that this becomes a success. Yeah. Okay. I can see a couple of hands up, guys. If you can quickly pop open the camera in the order that I see hands up, I will start giving access to coming on voice as well. Okay.
so people should be able to unmute themselves as well.
Yeah. All right. Sudesh, I see. Yes, the first one. Sudesh, you wanna go?
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi. So I just wanted to ask, I was a bit late because I was on work, but I just wanted to ask whether games can be used for, I have something different in mind wherein, so I come from a research background wherein we are not able to access some instruments. So I was wondering whether we can develop a few simulations, wherein, say, if you have some microscopes or some other instruments, we can generate accurate impressions of those simulations and actually give it to those companies for a training program or a certain thing like that, wherein researchers can learn to access all of those. Like, is that possible and is that scalable? Because I come from an industrial and entrepreneurship background, though I have a thing in research.
Yeah.
So is it really feasible?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And there are already a lot of large scale use cases of something similar happening because
Okay.
there are startups that are working with Indian Army to
Yeah,
really build training
I
architectures.
heard it of
Yeah.
in the Air Force.
Right.
They go
So
through various
basically think of
simulations.
this way. Right. So basically think of this way, and this is for everybody, right? A lot of people think about that if I learn how to build things in Unity or Unreal, my scope is limited to just working in game companies, right? And maybe I don't want to work in game companies for some reason or the other, right? I want to explore other opportunities as well. So companies that are working on building self-driving cars, right? AI for self-driving cars,
Right.
all of them are actually building their simulations and testing their car simulations in AI worlds and
Yeah.
in virtual worlds. All of these virtual worlds are built in either Unreal or Unity,
Yeah.
or at least majority of them, right? Some might be using some custom technology to build it, but essentially they're nothing but game technology, right?
Yeah.
So there is essentially wherever the cost of doing a mistake in the real world is very high, right? That's where you can replace that with a game world and let the AI work or let the training happen, etc.,
Right.
etc. For example, if you want to teach a sixth standard kid
Yeah.
how to dissect a heart and open up the different parts of a heart, etc., right? You can't do
Right.
that really, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to teach how to fight firefighting in a jungle, right? For that, you
Yeah.
literally have to put a jungle under fire, right?
Yeah.
So all of these really complex real world scenarios which are very hard to produce as a test environment, as a training environment, where the cost of operation is very high. Games
Hmm.
and game technology is a perfect example of those things getting used. Gamification, somebody mentioned in the chat, is very different. Game using games to actually build these things so that they can be repeated over and over again.
Right.
Very high opportunity for these kind of things nowadays. In enterprises, in factories,
Yeah.
in complex scenarios, training workers for large scale factories and just stuff like that, training firefighters, army veterans, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's a huge industry and it's exploding everywhere. The most common is like you can look up what's this name of this company? DeepMind. So
Okay.
DeepMind, which is a Google entity, basically Google bought this company.
Okay.
99% of the stuff that they do is in games, right? So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would just like to add one of our full stack alumni as well. He's a friend of mine, Prashant. They work for AI Solve and they are building their own simulation games in Unreal. So even though they did, I think there was a question in chat as well that will I be able to do Unreal during full stack? Doesn't matter, to be honest. So if you sign up for the full stack program, you'll be learning in Unity. But like I said, one of our alumni, I personally worked on a completely different engine after I graduated as well. And one of my friends already, Prashant, is working in Unreal and simulating creating VR simulators for arcades, etc. as well. Plus, they are working on their own hospital simulation projects as well.
Yep, awesome. Lakshmi, I know you have your hand up. If you can pop open the camera, I can give you access. Are there any more questions in the chat? Oh, yes. Please go ahead. I think I've given you access. Cool. I can hear you.
Yes, I need to know. I'm a developer too. I was just I have some experience with coding, but my goal is a bit different. I want to be a level designer and this environment designers kind of a thing. What shall be the prior listed? Like, what shall I do to? You said before itself to portfolio, to add it to the portfolio, we need to do repetitively this levels of that. For this level design and environment design, what shall we do to add this things into portfolio for the level designers and environment?
Yeah, so good question overall. I think I'll give a more general answer, which applies not just for level design specifically, but applies to somebody in the same situation who is trying to build game projects via programming, or might want to do projects because they want to become an animator or an artist or a sound designer, etc. Right? The same answer actually applies to everyone, which is you need to showcase a lot of quality projects, right? So, for example, let's say my target is to build a portfolio, right? But why am I really building a portfolio? For what, right? Most likely it is to showcase to a company or a prospective employer, right? Or to show it to clients in order to get those kind of projects. If I want to build my own game studio or something, right? There is some goal that why you're creating a portfolio, right? So once you understand what that goal is, right?
Yes.
Let's assume for all intents and purposes, right now the goal is to get a job, for example, right? A simple one, right? Now my goal is to get a job, and that's why I need a portfolio, right? Now, what kind of a job? Am I targeting companies like, say, Rockstar, or am I targeting companies which are more mobile focused, or am I targeting companies that are more focused on, say, specific genre of games, etc. Right? Now, once I know specifically what is my target in terms of which kind of companies I'm aiming for, right? What kind of games do they make? Then I'll reverse engineer and backtrack to say, what kind of games do I want to show in my portfolio in order to attract those companies, right? So let's say I talk about, like, there was a lot of discussion regarding Candy Crush and whatnot, right? In the chat earlier. So, let's say I want to target companies that work on match 3 genre, right? I want to get a job as a level designer with match 3, or I want to get a job as a as a game engineer in a match 3 company for some reason or the other, because that's my interest, right? So from that perspective, I will create first a simplistic match 3 game. Then I'll create a slightly more complex match 3 game, which has maybe some advanced mechanics from, say, Candy Crush, or another one I might create where there is the core of the match 3, but then there's story-based logic around it, very much like this another famous match 3 game, which I'm right now forgetting, Gardenscape, right? So basically each project, you're kind of showcasing more and more complex things that you are learning along the way, right? And that is kind of the progression that employers usually want to see, right? So once you're able to showcase that, hey, this is the most advanced stuff, but I started with this very basic stuff, all of that is part of your portfolio. But when you're talking to an employer during an interview,
most likely you'll be just talking about the advanced stuff. Once they talk about the advanced stuff, you'll be able to sort of, they'll be able to understand how have you grown over time to get to that advanced things. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yes, yes. Another question is that when we try to make a portfolio,
Mhm.
is we need any paid websites or free websites that we can use it for?
Free websites, you don't need to worry about paid stuff, right? Free is good enough.
Okay.
You can host it, like depending on what portfolio. For example, if you're doing an art portfolio, what is that name? Why am I blanking out? So for engineering, GitHub is the best place. Manas, what is the arts one? Art one. Behance. Yes.
Or Behance.
Art Station, Behance. Yeah, I was thinking of Behance.
Okay.
So there are like standard places where you can go and create your portfolio all for free. You don't need to worry about doing anything paid. If you want to go a little bit more fancy and create your own custom website, etc., you can do it on Wix as well, but usually not advised till the time you already are confident that I have spent enough time building a really high quality projects on my portfolio. If the projects are not there, a very good looking website and a custom website will not help you, right? Because that's just a cherry on the top, not the actual cake. If the cake doesn't exist, the cherry floating in the air doesn't work, right?
Okay.
So that's where you should think about it. Yeah. Okay, cool, awesome, thanks.
Tara's asking what's your profession right now?
What's my profession right now? My profession is a founder. So I'm janitor. I do everything that needs to be done in order to make scale work. But yeah, I've done game production. I've done sound design. I've done engineering. I've hired a lot of people. Yeah, I've done a lot of things in my career. The career has been like 11 12 years now, 12 plus years now. So and that too spanning US and India, etc. So had exposure to do a lot of different things. Okay.
Asking how do I revolutionize the gaming industry?
How do I revolutionize? Let me come back. Gaurav, Abhishek, and I see you guys have your hands up. If you guys can pop up with your cam, I can give you access to unmute as well. Okay. What is the next? Vinay is asking, according to you, what is there next in the gaming industry? If I knew, we would all be rich and millionaires, right? So I think the next is all for us to figure out, right? Everybody's trying to do their part in terms of what they feel excited about. A lot of times I see this mistake of people trying to chase hype curve. And with the recent correction in the market, if anybody is following the startup ecosystem, what's happening with the funding and everything, etc., it's easy to understand, like everything that was just hype just dies down, and only the people who are really focused on building quality things survive, right? So instead of asking what's the next big thing in gaming, I would say, what is the thing that you are excited about building, right? So if you understand what you are excited about and you try to marry it with something that somebody has a pain point for, right, there's a good chance that you'll make it successful. Yeah. Okay, cool. I think Gaurav was there on cam as well. Gaurav, if you can unmute and ask. Yeah, Gaurav.
Hello.
Hey, yeah, please.
Hey, hi, Mayank. Hi, Manas.
Hi.
Actually, I had a 1v1 talk with Manas. He took my kind of phonic interview, I remember.
Yeah.
So I have to admit I'm pretty basic with data structures and algorithms. So I had a chat with Manas that day, that what amount of data structures and algorithms are needed for like advanced gaming computations and whatnot. So he was kind of in a hurry that day, so I didn't wanted to bother him. So I thought this time would be like
Oh, perfect. It's a good question. Yeah, it's a good question. So question for everybody is like, what level of depth of knowledge do I need in data structures and algorithms to be what, like build successful games or get a job in the industry? What exactly?
Like it could be anything, but I guess to build something good, like for the advanced level games. Right now, I have built, I guess, some basic stuff and something other than games using Unity, but I haven't given my full for the advanced games.
So let's frame the question as a way: what kind of what level of depth do I need in data structures to build good quality games, right? Like with good production quality, how much depth there is in the games itself, whether it has 3000 levels or 300 levels, usually won't matter, right? If you have the basics strong. Yeah. So Manas, you want to take this one?
Yep, since I already had a chat with Gaurav, I think I got another call from him. But yeah, just to answer, I'll give my example. So when I got my job at Zanser, right, the first round of interviews that was asked, the first round itself was data structures. Directly with the CTO, asking me and grilling me on DS. I had built like a kick-ass portfolio. I know Unity, etc., etc. Everything's gone to the trash. What do you know? I want to make this. How will you write a certain algorithm to build this? Okay, so you will choose this. Why would you choose this, etc.? What's the time complexity? So basically, all the questions that I asked you on the telephonic call were asked to me for like an extended hour and a half conversation. And the thing is, they are not looking for like perfect answers. They are just looking for ways in which you're tackling the problem. So if you're on the right track, they normally give you, even if you're not on the right track, but you're able to tackle the problem properly, right? They probably will give you a hint or point you in the right direction so that you can get to the end destination as well. And that's the basic test that they are looking for. And coming back to like DS and Algo, why it's important, you'll see that as you build more large scale games, right? The performance takes very depending. Say I want to make a game on web. I want to make sure that it runs well even on a 10,000 rupee phone using Google Chrome, right? So in order to optimize how games are working and getting the most out of your systems, you need to understand where to make sure your CPU time is getting utilized, etc. So when we talk about time complexity, etc., all of that is tied to how much time your CPU will be consuming to actually play your game, right? Yeah. So we will go in detail about this during like Launchpad as well as full stack as well. You'll see that we'll be discussing how frame rate works. Why, if I write a double for loop, my game is going to run at 10 FPS lower compared to if I write an optimized version of a for loop, etc., etc. So yeah, that's what you'll be using, and that's why data structure is important. Plus, again, like I said, in order to get a job at good companies, DS is going to be the number one criteria.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Like I knew about other stuff like for web development, for app development and stuff, but in terms of gaming industry, I didn't know like up to which extent should we go. Like there are
so I can answer that quickly as well, right? Like I understand where you're heading at. So basically, like for folks who might be familiar with, say, people who are preparing for software developer roles at Google and Amazon, etc., right? So if you're generally aware of what happens in terms of that preparation, if you put that as 100%, here I would say that you need about 70%. Right. So that just gives you a relative estimate of how you should think about it, right? Do you need to go deep into, competitive programming where you only have 15 minutes to get a hard lead code level problem solved, etc.? No, right? And there is a very fundamental difference. And for some folks on the call today, if this seems a little bit too technical, just bear with me for a little bit. But understand this, that you do need solid understanding of fundamentals. When you're appearing for an interview with Amazon and Google, they don't care whether you know anything related to development. They only care about, can you solve a DS algo problem, right? Given a problem, can you approach the problem correctly, right? Because these companies are so huge, once you go in, you don't have much control in terms of, at least as an entry level developer, you don't have much control in terms of what team you will land on, whether you'll be in the payments team, the search team, the Android native team, blah, 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 right? So they check in their interview process only for one thing, which is your problem solving skills. And that's why it's taken to the extreme end of problem solving only, right? But when you work with game companies, they care about a good balance of both problem solving on one side and development skills on the other. Okay, because these companies don't have the luxury, or at least are not $1 trillion companies who have the luxury to train you for first 3-4 months easy, right? On the development skill, whether you are in the native team or the web team or the payment team or whatever, right? So they care about that balance. And as a result, they will check your logic, but they will not grill you in the competitive programming way. They'll give you a problem, understand how you think about approaching that problem, how do you solve, what kind of data structures do you apply, what kind of logic can you build, but do you know every nook and cranny in terms of the hard level 21 graph problems on LeetCode? No, right? That's not going to happen here, right? Because they need to balance that out with your actual development skills, right? How do you build games? How do you think about players as you're building these games? Because at the end of the day, as a programmer in gaming companies, you're not just a programmer who's just focused on writing good code. You're thinking about the actual person who's playing the game as well as you're building features, right? So those things become important for game companies as well. So hopefully that answers your question.
Totally fine.
Perfect. Awesome. Good. Abhishek, I know you guys have your hands up. I will pick up a couple of questions from the chat meanwhile. Yep, Abhishek. Okay, I see you there. 1 second. Yep.
I guess we can pick Abhijit's now.
Yeah, sorry. Abhijit,
hi, everyone. My question was, when should I start building my own dream game?
When should you start building your own dream game? Yesterday?
Yes.
Like, what's stopping you from building it starting yesterday? Like last night that went away. Why are you stopping? Who's stopping you?
Like what's stopping me is I don't know all the basic stuff. I know the basic stuff, but I don't know which game engine should I use, or should I build my own game engine or stuff like that.
So this is a very classical problem when somebody's starting out. Should I just start building my own game engine, right? Like, half of you might know this story, right? Like focus on the bird. Like when you're trying to shoot the bird, don't see the tree and everything around it, etc. Just focus on the eye, right? Your goal is to make a game. Just focus on making the game, not the engine itself. Some people have done it, but there are, those are 1 in a million bazillion kind of cases. But for every other person, it's better to just focus on what the goal is, right? Again, like even answering the previous question, I first picked up what is the goal for the portfolio, right? A lot of times we think about, okay, I want to make a portfolio, but we forget that why am I making it, right? Same here. If you want to make a game, why are you making it? Understand that goal, and that will give you an answer as to what you want to do, right? So I'll just pick up 1 or 2 use cases here. If you ask yourself, and this goes to everybody, if you ask yourself that I want to make a game, why do I want to make this game? I want this to be a mega duper hit so that I make $1 billion freaking dollars, right? Maybe that's the outcome, right? Or I want to just make it, even if nobody plays, right? I just want to acquire the skill of building games, and that's why I'm building it, right? Or I want to make it because I want to master, say, procedural generation, and that's why I'm going to make a game around procedural world generation only. That's the goal. I don't care about the game per se, right? So what exactly is the goal? That will define how you go about sort of building it. What exactly steps are you going to take in terms of building it? In terms of engine, don't worry, pick one and start, because whichever you feel most comfortable with, or you think you can get to learn that quickly. Because at the end of the day, right, if the goal is to get the game out into the players' hands, they don't care which engine you use. They don't even know the name of the engine, right? And they care about, hey, am I having fun while playing this game, right? Do I like this game enough to play it again, right? Do I want to keep it installed on my phone if it's a mobile game, or etc., etc.? Or do I want to pay if it's a paid Steam game or something, right? They don't care about the rest of the stuff, right? So figure out first the goal, and that will give you the steps to take, right? Once you have the goal in mind, in case the steps are still not clear, definitely put it down in the one of the Discord channels. Happy to chat there about this as well. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Perfect. All right, awesome. Abhishek, I know you have your hand up. If you can open up. Oh, yep, there we go. Perfect. All right, go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes, yeah. Can hear you.
Yeah. So my question was that, as you said, a good portfolio is important to get into jobs, into game development jobs and stuff like that. As a programmer, how can we, as a game development as a field is a very versatile field. Like you have to do all the programming stuff by yourself. You have to do all the designing stuff. You have to do all the audio stuff all by yourself. As, my main question is that as a programmer, I am just programming the game, but like the designing part is not actually my strength. Okay. So how could I make a total full game, a full working game with like a quality game with designs, 3D animations and stuff like that, which is not my strength.
Yeah.
Do I need to buy assets, or I can use free assets that are available in the Unity store? That's what my point is.
Okay, perfect. Good question. And my answer is the same as the previous two answers. Really, what is the goal, right? Think about the end thing that you're trying to do, and then work backwards from there. And you can apply this funda to almost everything as well, right? So if the goal is that I'm doing this as a independent developer, as an indie, right? I want to do this as my own creative thing, right? In that case, do I want to make a lot of money? Is this my only source of income? Or am I doing it just as a passion thing and I don't want to, involve anybody else with it, right? Then I would say that if you want to just do it as a passion thing, it doesn't matter whether it takes you 10 years to get this game out, you will continue to do it. Then do everything by yourself. Learn art, learn sound, learn everything, right? Along the way. Because then you're not really cared about making this as a commercial success, right? You're maybe, Monday to Friday, you're working a full-time job. Saturday, Sunday, you're working on this hobby project, right? You don't want to involve anybody. Keep it as your own baby project and make it successful, right? But imagine that you want to make this a commercial success, right? Then if that's the case, you want to make sure that you get this game out in a cost-effective manner as soon as possible as well, right? Because if you're, hey, I only have 2 years of money left in the bank, I will not be able to sustain more of game development if I'm doing this alone. Maybe you want to figure out that, okay, I have X amount of money in the bank. I can do it by myself in 2 years, but in 2 years, will I be able to do art very well, everything very well or no? If not, then can I cut it down to 1 year, right? And say that extra 1 year of money I'm going to spend on hiring an artist, right? Who's going to just do this freelance work for me, or buying something, right? So it's going to be a mixture of different things, right? You might buy something that you can easily buy for cheap, or cost effective at least, right? And then maybe you need some custom animations, which are very unique to your game alone. And you ask some artist to work as a freelancer with you or something. So depending on what that end goal is, that will give you clarity in terms of how you want to reverse engineer and come to a starting point, and that will give you what your path should be. But if you're talking about a game company, if you're working inside a company, usually you'll be focusing on one thing. You'll not be doing art, animation, sound, engineering all by yourself. That usually does not happen unless it's a 1 or 2 people team only, right? Then yes, people will be doing multiple things. But in anything bigger than that, there would be a dedicated artist, there would be a dedicated designer, more or less, there would be a dedicated programmer, producer, and so on and so forth, right? So if you have a good balanced team, you'll be expected to do your part, but you have to do your part really, really well. Yeah. So that's how you sort of think about whether it's a production environment where you're working with a company producing high quality games, whether it's an indie project, just doing it for the creative vision of creativity of it, not really expecting to make money, whether you're doing it as a self business and want to turn this into a money making engine so that you can do this full time without having to do another job, etc. So what that end outcome is, that will define what your actual journey should be. Yeah.
Cool. If there's no other question, Raz is asking, I heard the effort to result ratio is less in game development compared to full stack web development. Is it true, or is it waste to worry about it and jump into game development? It's fine. I guess I can answer this. I'm the only game developer in a class of 240, in a batch of 240 people. Most of them into full stack web, automation testing, cloud, DevOps, whatever you call it. Again, I don't think the pay scale has been different, to be honest. If you have the skills, it doesn't matter, like I answered in the chat as well. So the jobs might be less, yes, it's the kind of pay scale that you're looking for, but if you're good enough, the job will find you and you would not need to go and apply for those jobs as well. So if you have the skills, you don't necessarily need to limit yourself in pay. I would never say that, but it would then depend whether you have the kind of skills, plus whether you want to work on the kind of games that require those skills as well. So it's a mix of both. And that again comes to full stack program as well. So I never planned I had dreams of working on like the regular stuff, like I'll work for Naughty Dog, I'll work for Rockstar, I'll work for so and so. But you go and work in Zanser and you work on Temple Run 2 and you realize, okay, this problem is interesting as well, right? And the skills needed to tackle these problems have a lot of overlap in them as well. So you'll notice that over the course of the Launchpad program as well, that how many of the questions that you answer in Launchpad for one game carry over to other games as well.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us usually don't like to think about that we want to work with casino games. They're boring. Like, who wants to build Rummy or Teen Patti, right? Like, nobody dreams about building Rummy or Teen Patti, right? Everybody wants to work on GTA, CSGO. Like when we were talking about all these questions and you guys were dropping games and names in the chat, etc. Not a single person made like Rummy or Teen Patti. Maybe there was like one Ludo in between or something. But I think even that was on the question regarding mom and dad, right? But I can tell you, for people who are jumping into track 3, which is the advanced track, and people who might continue to join full stack and learn a lot of the advanced stuff, some of the best engineering stuff that I learned in my career was while building casino-based games, right? Because there's a lot of data and data structures involved in these games. There's not much of complexity when it comes to animations and artwork, etc. But then you have to be very careful with data because you're either working with real money, and so on and so forth. So a lot of the engineering principles become very hyped up if you're working with sort of real money games, and you can learn a lot as well. So if we don't limit our options in terms of what kind of projects we want to work on, at least initially in your career, you can be more choosy later once you have acquired a lot of industry experience and you can say, now I don't want to work on this, right? Because I've proven to enough companies over the years that I'm really great. Now I'm going to pick and choose, right? So in the early on, keep an open mind towards the kind of different challenges that comes from different kind of projects, right? And every project will have some or unique challenge, and that's the beauty of games as well. But I think one thing I'll just add is that if you're thinking about the risk to reward ratio, you're thinking from the heart, thinking from the mind quite strictly, right? But a lot of the people who I've seen generally devote a lot of effort and time to building games usually think first from heart perspective, is like, this is what they are core passionate about, right? Like if you really want to be successful from that space perspective, I would say 100% aim for games. But if you think that, meh, it's like I can do games, I can do web, it doesn't matter, I just think of this as a way for me to get a good financial outcome as well, right? Then you should be able to weigh those odds in terms of where you see a better career prospect, right? Or at least like better career prospect with the least amount of effort. But if you're hell-bent on like, nope, I want to build games, like I had a very good job opportunity once I graduated from Delhi College of Engineering. I was the highest paid candidate in my entire class. And I say class, I entire batch, not just computer science, but the entire batch period in India, right? And this is back in 2008-9. But then I left all of that to go and pursue a career building games, right? So it's more about the passion and the motivation that drives you. That's usually the recipe for a long-term success. Not talking about like 1 or 2 years, but like multiple decades, right? Like if people see you continuing to build a lot of fantastic games over fantastic games as well. Right? Do we use Mongo and Docker in game development? You can, but only on specific types of games. Docker usually will be for backend development. So if you're using Docker, you're probably working on something related to servers. Front end, there's no need for Docker or any kind of containerization technology because majority of your games are usually working on client machines, not in your backend cloud environment. Okay.
Cool. Himanshu yes, has a question. Himanshu, if you can turn on your camera, I can give you voice access as well. Yep. Are you able to unmute? Yep.
Uh, my question is that can I do game development, game engine development both? Right now I'm making game engine. For while making that game engine, I'm not getting enough time of making games.
Yeah.
Because I want to make game engines because I'm really get fascinated by source game engine.
Got it.
You also made it. You know about well.
Got it.
I'm really good fascinated. So can I do both of them?
Okay. Question here would be, have you ever used any other engine other than Source Engine? Have you used Unity, etc., Unreal, whatever?
So I use Godot and Source.
Okay. You've used,
Godot and Unreal because
okay.
Source is not available for public.
Okay. Do you know all the features that there are in Unreal and Godot, like from top to bottom?
No, not
Then
all
how
of them.
would you know what needs to go inside a game engine?
Right now, I am following a YouTube channel named the Cherno. He's telling me.
I understand the guy who reviews different graphics and basically mainstream games and their particle effects, etc. You're talking about, right? So I guess he reviewed Halo Infinite, Ratchet and Clank, etc. on YouTube and how their engine might have worked. So these problems, I would always recommend understanding how an engine works in and out first. So understand how Unity is working behind the scenes, understand how Unreal is working behind the scenes, reverse engineer again. What do you want to build? Play around with it. This is where I want to be. Break it down and then reverse engineer it, and then okay, I need to render a line. How do I render a line, etc., etc.? Keep building on it, but again, doing it solo is very, very difficult unless you have like a ton of experience. There's books to help you with that, but again, if you don't are not great with C++, if you're not great with and how regular engines work, if you don't have any industry experience with proper engines. So Cherno's case, he already worked at EA, right? He's already worked at popular games and their game engines and optimized the shit out of those engines. So he knows where these engines go wrong. If you don't have experience, I would recommend a good way to start is just by modding existing games, right? So how CS started, right? Take an existing game, try to add a new feature to it. If they don't have a proper engine, then try to add a mod, try to make some stuff and try to break the game on your local machine as well. That's where I would start. Again, creating your own engine is a very long term game. If you want to get into like engine programming, tools programming, etc., then I would recommend doing that. But if you want to start off, I would start off with a normal 2D engine instead of going hardcore into 3D. Like just try to create a 2D engine first. Have anything to add, Maya?
Yeah, I think what I'll add is that a lot of us don't realize that even Unity has a lot of free code available on GitHub, which is used inside the engine itself, right? So if you have not yet and you're interested in learning more about how to build an engine and potentially building it yourself as well, right? Start by trying to play around with that, right? But to your original question as well, right? Like regarding can I do it both? Absolutely, right? Like somebody asked me, when can I start building my my dream game? The answer is yesterday, right? Same, I'll give it to you as well. You can start doing it like yesterday, right? It's just that it becomes very hard if one, you're doing it solo, and two, this is the first time you're trying to do it as well, right? So maybe having a buddy with you, maybe you find that buddy during Launchpad, right? You find that other person in your daily sessions who shares that same passion and you work together on the same project. Great, because there will be ups and downs and there will be highs and lows, and you will have the temptation of giving up as well, right? So one, having somebody with you on the project, if you're picking up such a challenging project as to build a game engine for yourself, right? And then two, I think it's about sort of understanding the goal again, right? Like, are you doing this to learn how a game engine works, or are you building it so that other people can use it to build games as well, or you can use it to build your own games? What exactly is the core motivation that will change how you approach the problem itself? What exactly are you trying to build, right? Yeah, does that make sense?
Yes, yes, yes.
All right, perfect. Karthikeya, do you want to jump up as well? Meanwhile, I think there was a question regarding somebody had asked regarding how does game startup differ from other startups like e-commerce, etc. Since we'll be talking about career opportunities, this is a slightly longer conversation. I love this topic generally, so I'll be happy to talk about it again. So Irfan, if you can bring this up, or anybody else who remembers, just bring this up in tomorrow's Q&A. We'll be talking about career then. Okay, perfect. Karthikeya, you want to go?
Hi, sir.
Hey.
I'm Karthikeyan. I want to be a part of both game design and game program. Is that possible? Sir?
You mean
Means
professionally?
professionally.
It is. Like I said, right? Like 100% possible. But again, at what level of complexity are you going to execute is going to be different, right? So for example, if you're working on any of these large scale game projects, right? Like the GTAs of the world, the Candy Crushes or Clash of Clans, all of these would have a dedicated designer and a dedicated engineering team, right? So if you're on that level of complexity of a project / production quality, right, it will be very hard to do both the roles, right? Because those teams need people with very specific skill set as a level designer, as a graphic designer, as an artist, as an animator, as an engineer, etc., right? And you need to excel at that basically. But then if you, let's say, have a team which is say 4 to 6 people big, right? A small indie team, passion project, everybody's equally motivated to work on it, etc., right? So from that perspective, you can focus on having multiple things that every person does, right? So you can do engineering and design, somebody else can do design and art, somebody else can do art and engineering, and so on and so forth, right? So depending on the scope and the scale of the project, right? The larger the scope, the larger the scale of the project, the bigger the business goal for that particular project, chances are that every person's role will be more specific, right? The smaller the scale in terms of the financial resources, or it's a hobby project or a passion project, you can definitely do it in a smaller team, in a smaller setup, where you can have, one person wearing multiple things. Usually very common theme in younger
Yes,
startups.
sir. And the question, I'm stuck in between whether I need to go on game design or game dev. I like both. How
Try
should I figure out?
try it and decide.
Exactly, try both. Yeah, so I think
Sir,
somebody mentioned that they have. So sorry, Kartik, I'll just come back. So if
Okay.
we're just coming to like discussing questions, etc. So if somebody has very urgent work, etc., that they need to jump into, feel free to
Okay,
jump
sir.
off. We'll just do a quick 2 minute, some fun thing that we like to do towards the end. So if you can stay back, we'll probably just wrap up the call in another 5 minutes or so. Okay. Yeah, Kartik, sorry. I think interrupted your answer in between. But essentially what I was trying to say was that what Manas was also saying, try both and then decide which one you want to do, right? So you should think about first building a professional level game from design and art perspective, or design and engineering perspective. Then you'll understand the actual production level challenges. What happens, because usually it's easy for us to understand when we are doing hobby projects, maybe following some YouTube tutorials and so on and so forth. But once we get to production level quality, right? Like, so when Manas was working with Zanser, he was working on this game, Temple Run, right? So there are very unique challenges that come with it, right? The moment you get that challenge, let's say there's some new problem that you have to solve today as an engineer, and today you are not able to solve it, you're trying to go to sleep, but the problem is still in your head, you're still thinking about it. That's a clear indication that you love programming, right? So if those kind of things happen now, that gives you an indication that you love programming. But then for design, imagine that you played Mario yesterday or some game, right? And you're like, why did the designer do this, right? Like, why did they put this obstacle here, right? You're going to bed and you're thinking about these things, right? Instead of actually how are they implemented by the engineer on that team, right? You're thinking about why did the designer put it here, right? Why was this jump so hard to make? I was dying so much on this particular jump itself, right? If you're trying to think about those design elements, right, then you're most likely inclined towards design. But you have to do this on a production level project to really understand the scope of it and the challenges that come with it, right? It's easy to misunderstand this when you're doing it in a small, maybe a friend project, right? Like few friends from college get together to work on a project, and that gives us a wrong impression oftentimes. What do you actually want to do? Because the challenges in a production project are completely different. So hopefully that answers your question. Aditya is saying I've tried both and I think they're both very good. If you are creative based, go for game design. If you're problem solving, go for development. Aditya, slightly beg to differ. I think programmers are very creative as well, because at the end of the day, problem solving is a creative aspect. And a lot of people think that game design is all about coming up with ideas. That's actually not true. Game design is a lot about math. A lot of people don't realize how much of game design is actually Excel spreadsheets and math. People think that I love design because I want to come with creative ideas. Let's make Assassin's Creed jump left, right, and do a leap of faith kind of animation. Those ideas usually come from engineers and artists and a lot of other members of the team. Designer's job is to execute them very well. So there's creativity involved in both. And I think the skills needed to actually execute at a production level is very different. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Any other questions? I think Karthik has done.
Yep. Nothing. And why doesn't India make a AAA game? We will.
We will. Yes. That's why Outscale exists. We want to see more folks learn how to build games and eventually go on to build studios that produce AAA games, right? That's one of the internal metrics that we are shooting for as well. So hopefully some of you guys are in that category where you want to aspire for building India on the AAA map as well. How do we get into foreign opportunities and what should be the focus there? Again, the same thing. A good portfolio, high quality skills. The bar is obviously much, much higher if you're trying to do international, but we've had folks who are now working with international studios remotely, etc. As of today, basically what I can share is that what we are seeing in the job opportunity space, you can get good freelance opportunities and projects, but if you're looking for immediate full-time opportunity as a remote person internationally, that is still hard in the gaming space, just because game studios do prefer working with people under the same roof, or at least in similar overlapping time zones, right? So I've also personally worked in the past internationally. I've built international teams as well when I was with Jungli and all, but it's hard building games, especially because they're very creative and you're trying to build something that's fun for the players. It's a hard endeavor, right? So yeah, but it's still doable, just that not seen too many happen, but maybe in a year or so, I think that will change. Okay, cool, awesome. So I think we are good. Did we miss any more questions?
No, it seems fine. I think we've overshot a lot as well.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys, but I like the overall questions. They were very interesting questions.
Yeah.
So it was fun, and hopefully you guys got to learn something new. Cool, awesome. So tomorrow we'll meet again at 8 p.m. We'll be talking about career opportunities in more depth, maybe a little bit about gaming startups, etc. That's a topic close to our heart. I've shared the link again with anybody who might not have it. What we'll do is now we'll do a quick sort of an outro. For this, I would request everybody to open up their camera / mics. This is a quick, fun 20-second activity that we do before wrapping up the session and gets everybody to participate together. Let me remove spotlight for everybody. So if you are on your desktop or something, just switch over to the gallery view so that you can see a lot of other beautiful faces. I know it's COVID, so everybody's ugly. It's okay. Everybody has distraction in the background. That's totally fine. All right, that's all right. So perfect. So okay, awesome. So here's what we're gonna do. This thing has been called Outscale Yoga. It has been called with different names. I don't know. I just call it outro. So I'm still seeing a lot of people that are not on cam. If you guys can open up, this is just a 20-second thing. We'll play a quick game and you'll trust me, you'll love it. Unmute yourself as well, okay? So that you get to participate in what you're gonna do. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. Hands up in the air in front of your camera, okay? Unmute as well. I can see a lot of people on cam haven't yet unmuted. I want to hear you guys as well as we participate in this, okay? So everybody is a developer here. So there's a little bit of static noise. Venkat, I think. Yeah, okay, perfect. Thanks, Venkat, for muting. I think there's a static noise happening. So hands up in the air in front of the camera. Move your fingers really fast. Remember, all of you are looking to become programmers, developers, etc. You have to type. Okay, so really, really fast. Okay, perfect. So now when I say 1, 2, 3, keep moving your fingers. This is get the juices and blood flowing. When I say 1, 2, 3, everybody's going to raise your hand up in the air. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, raise your hand up in the air. Okay, not right now. I'm just explaining. Okay, so raise your hand up in the air and everybody will scream, go team, go Go team, TEAM, not go T. This is, I'm not talking about the beard. Okay, go team. Okay, and you don't have to whisper or anything, just scream like really really loud. Let the neighbors fucking hear it, let the dog start barking outside, we don't care. Okay, awesome. So yes, all right, hands up in the air, move really fast and with me. Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, go team.
Go
Go
team.
team.
That didn't feel very passionate. I expect more from a bunch of folks who are gamers. Come on. All right, once more. All right, this time we'll do it correctly and we'll do it with nice sound. Okay, so for folks who have not yet participated, please do. All right, all right, 1, 2, 3, go team.
Go
Go
team.
team.
Yeah,
Go
my
team.
friend. Awesome. All right, guys, awesome. Hope you guys had fun, learned something new, met some other fellow developers as well. I will share the link once more in the chat in case anybody still missed it. We'll see you guys back in Discord and we'll see you guys back on Zoom and tomorrow 8 as well. All right, perfect. Take care, guys. Have a fun rest of the night and see you guys tomorrow. Bye.